welcome to the wide world of Wargaming, Age of Sigmar podcast. As always, we are your hosts, Alex, John, Jeremy, and Garrett. Today we are going to be talking about Lumineth, those bright elves from the realm of light. Yeah, and they have a lot going on. You know, the Battle Tome is going to be coming out, I believe, 2 Saturdays from today. You know, pre-orders are going to be coming up this weekend. Is that right? Is that right, everyone? That's right. Okay, cool.
Right. I mean, unless they do a 2-week pre-order out of nowhere for whatever.
That'd be
I thought pre-orders
weird.
were. Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
When they're there, I want them.
Exactly. So we're going to talk a lot about Lumineth, some of the things that we've already reviewed and talked about before with previews, but also some of the previews that happened this week when we found out a little bit more about how they played, because there were some pretty big revelations in there. And of course, with everything else that we've learned, we're starting to build a really good picture as to what the actual battle tome is going to look like and potentially how it's going to make massive shifts or minor shifts in the meta. I think it's going to be pretty big. But before we get to all of that, as always, John, what's on your workbench?
Hey, how you doing, Alex, Garrett, Jeremy? Good to see you guys this week. 3 of my favorite people to hang out with on a fine after-work evening. I tell you what, I see, even though we only hang out online, I think I see more of you guys than almost anybody nowadays, just because of the shelter-in-place stuff. So it is what it is. There's the 3 of you, there's my wife, and there's my son who I work with, and that's my world nowadays.
Don't forget about your dog or your wife's dog.
The dog is part of me. That's not even a separate being. You know, I'm not the kind of guy that just like brutally drags his dog across the floor and roughs him up and does. You know, I cherish my pets in a deeper way like that. So other than that, haven't been doing a lot. You know, as you see in the background here, I've continued working on the dungeon that I talked about last week. Been slowly assembling that. Was, of course, enjoying a fine beverage. Now, I, too, am running low on some of my supplies, and this is, of course, the St. George's single malt. I think that's about a shot left. We'll see if there's any St. George's single malt left by the end of the show. And, of course, I once again had some ice challenges. My ice thing, just like, it's not making spheres properly. I don't know if anyone has experience with that. I don't know if, like, the ice sphere maker wears out and then stops producing that. So I need to look into maybe getting like a cool Death Star skull ice cube. Other than that, not a lot of hobby. A lot of people starting to look at different things. So starting to get people hitting me up to play some games. I imagine within the next 2 weeks or so, I will end up going over to a friend's house and playing some kind of Warhammer. Hint, hint, hint. We'll see what that is as far as that goes. And then I've been hanging out in my garden, and some of you may have seen I posted a little video on Facebook where I ate the first hot pepper off my plants for the season, and it was a little hotter than expected, but quite enjoyable. And actually, every single day since then, I've been eating at least 1 hot pepper off the plants out there. And I'm finding that the plant is pretty variable right now. I'll eat 1 pepper and it'll be no heat, and the next one I eat will burn my face off. So this one's gonna be hot though. You can smell when there's a lot of capsaicin in there. So right before the show, before coming in, I munched a little pepper in the garden, and then I decided to grab this one. And really, these are supposed to be red peppers, so they're white right now. They're not as hot as they could be, but I'm just so ready to start eating hot pepper. Yeah, see, nothing. It's just really weird when the peppers aren't mature on the plant like that. Like, you'll eat one, and it's like, burn your face off, and you eat the next one, and there's nothing to it. So there's that. Now, you guys are going to find some irony in this. My garden was actually attacked by rats, and all the peppers, all the sweet peppers that were almost ripe, all got eaten by rats. I hate rats. Man, do I hate rats. And somebody
Really?
say, well,
you
John,
hate rats?
I hate rats with a passion. They're like, John, you play Skaven. I go, yeah. So every time I play Warhammer, I get to see hundreds of rats die horribly on the battlefield. It's very, very satisfying for me. Sometimes I win and that's satisfying, but when I lose, I get to see a bunch of dirty rats get smeared. So either way.
Yeah, I don't think that's true, since the biggest rat of them all is a vermin. That's unkillable.
He's died once. And so that is about it. Really a whole lot of nothing. Just been gardening and playing around with my dungeon. Looking forward to some new game systems that are coming out. And, of course, I'm not going to talk about it because it's what we're going to talk about for the rest of the show. But let's just say that I've been visualizing myself with some cow horns on there. So I know what's in my near future. So, Garrett, my friend, I see that you went ahead and ravaged your dog prior to the show, and now he's been beaten unconscious over there, something like that.
You know, like
what's up with
someone is going to call like animal services listening to our podcast. I know a couple of people who are like good animal rights activists, and they're going to listen to this and be like, "What the fuck is Garrett doing to that dog?"
Okay, for our listeners at home, Garrett's beautiful and well-loved dog is absolutely in dog mode behind him. You'll see it if you watch the video, much as he was last week, which is curled up, snoozed out, barely even see the thing breathing. He's so lazy. Probably spent an entire day playing and having fun with Mr. Garrett.
He actually sleeps on me most of the time. Just like I'll sit on my desk here, and he just like jumps up on my lap. And but he plays with Stormy a lot. He loves to piss Stormy off enough that Stormy will actively try to attack him, and then he's like, "Cool, now I run." And Stormy's like, "All right." So my golden retriever, he's now 5 years old, and so he's starting to get like, I don't know if like this 6-month-old puppy is not. No, I'm over this. I'm super over this. He's so Stormy. Like I got a dog to tire Stormy out, and now Stormy is tired all the time, constantly.
What?
He's never not tired.
I can't even picture Stormy not just being crazed with energy.
He just sleeps all day. Like it's one of those things where it's like he'll be in his crate. Like he goes into our room in our bedroom. He goes in his crate, and he'll be in there till like noon or 1 p.m. He's like, I'm sleeping, and then he'll get up and be like, okay, and then he'll like. Stellar will attack him. He's like, never mind, I'm going back to sleep. But I've done a couple of things. I got my display board all evened out a bit, and I finally got it to build together.
Ooh, nice.
So yeah, this is it actually completed. So the trees
wow, you're holding it at quite an angle. It's not even falling apart.
Yeah, they're magnetized in there.
Nice.
And it's the Frontline gaming tray. So this nice little.
All right.
Frontline tray, and the trees are all magnetized in here, so they're easily just.
Garrett, is it appropriately sized for the new edition?
We'll see.
Throw that in.
So I got that all built together. Last episode, I did the plasterwork, and I just had to cut a little bit. I over plastered some, and so I had to get the things fitting. And then me and. Huh?
Not legal size anymore. Can't play ball.
I know, right? Wrong game. But then I started working. So my wife and I were working, and I started sculpting some like trees, and rocks, and branches. I know.
Wait, out of the blue, you're sculpting green stuff? What the heck?
Well,
is this who took Garrett away from us?
My wife.
Yeah, where's the code monkey we know and love?
Yeah, Mr.
I
don't clean up my sprues.
Mr. I'm not a creative type.
Those look nice, Garrett. Those look really nice.
That's a direct quote. I'm not making fun of him, by the way.
No, we're not. We're absolutely not. These are things that Garrett has said to us.
Hi, Garrett.
Multiple times.
Anyways, those look great.
It was nice knowing you.
Yeah, my wife, she's done sculpting in the past for her Malifaux stuff, and
nice.
So I had her do the sculpting for me. She just has the great. She's actually creative.
Your wife did this.
Yes, I helped give her direction of.
Look at us trying to give fucking false credit here. You were loyal. You could have been like, yeah, totally. I sculpted all those. It took me hours. It's not my thing, but like I worked hard, and this is what it is. And we all would have been like, you're amazing, Garrett.
You only get to say that because you're not married.
The head from off screen.
He gave her credit.
Alex, enjoy that because you're gonna get married in like a year, maybe 2.
It's gonna be a year. It's gonna be a year now. I had to get pushed out.
I can't wait to play this recording in like 2 years. It's like, oh yeah.
That's
She wouldn't wait that long.
The single guy here still still believes in television marriage.
Who?
You
I said
do.
the single guy still believes in television marriage.
I never said that. Whoa,
30-second
hold on.
fiance or whatever it's called.
Dude, 90 Day Fiance, man, that's a whole. I could have a whole podcast about that. It is garbage television. It is 100% garbage television. But in a pandemic, like I don't know how it happened. I started watching it and I was like, this is the cringiest shit ever. But like, you just keep on watching it.
Oh,
We
I
all
hear
have
you.
our faults, is what I'm trying to say.
I mean,
So-
remember there was a point so long in the past of a month ago where Tiger King was king. So
Yeah. So I'm gonna glue that onto the plaster to kind of give it some level, and then I'll start flocking it and then start painting it. I'm gonna try to paint it and more prepared.
See, look, he's taking full advantage of his wireless headphones.
I know. Look at this
Yeah.
guy. Oh, I'm
Right.
jealous.
So my buddy Matt Barker painted these for my trees. And so this is how I'm going to try to decorate my this display board. So it's going to be a Realm of Shaiish tree-based display board for my Sylvaneth army. And so that's the goal. So I kind of, I was going for like some of the stones and branches and stuff to fill it out. And then I just got to like flock it and get that nice purple undertones. And Matt's actually going to come over next Sunday to play a game of Warhammer, and he's going to show me how to do this, so I might actually be able to replicate it myself and not have to rely on someone else to do work. And yeah, so that's the plan.
Nice. So you're having Matt over. Is this going to be your first in-person game of Warhammer in a while, or?
Second. So on Saturday, I went up to our buddy James O'Brien's house, and I was able to get a game, 2 games of Warhammer in. He soundly trounced me both games.
Well, yeah, it's James, right?
Yeah.
So that's why you
Number
invited.
3 ITC.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of both had the position of like, we're not going to play in an event till the General's Handbook comes out probably. So it's really hard for me to like care about what I'm playing. I'm just happy to be playing. So I'm not like trying to build optimized lists. I'm honestly just playing around like, let's just play some Warhammer and see how things end up. And so, but he played with what he had on hand, which was his Tempest Eye list. And so he decimated me in 2 turns.
So you were just playing around, and he was playing Tempest Eye.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It sounds about right. Sounds right. You got trounced.
So that was fun. And then over the weekend, I ran another tabletop simulator tournament, which was fun. So this was my 3rd one.
Wait. Was there a packet?
No, there was no packet.
We created a packet together on the last podcast.
I didn't write anything down.
Yes,
You know
I
what?
did.
You know what?
I didn't.
John, I'm so glad you brought that up. I had this on my notes, and I was going to bring it up if no one else had. I double-checked this weekend. I took a little peek, right? You have your Discord server, and I'm on it, despite me not playing in the event. And I saw a lot of people talking about their rounds and talking like, oh, I got, my ass kicked by so-and-so. And so, I thought to myself, okay, well, we talked about this last week. John said, had developed a good baseline for your packet. And let's just take a peek. Let's look on Best Coast Pairings. And, you definitely had up-to-date pairings, but there was nothing in the description.
He just rolled the mission.
Did I forget? I may have put nothing in the description because I pinned the missions to the Discord server where everybody was. So I didn't need a description in the event. So there was no packet.
We had a handwritten packet, so it's fair that, he would have a text delivered missions. That's to keep people from pre-planning too much and gaming the system. Well done, Garrett. Well done.
Also, highlighting a bunch of text and then right-clicking it and then copying and then doing that again and pasting is just very tough. It's very hard.
Okay, Alex, stop right there. Garrett is a Apple guy. He doesn't know anything about right-clicking.
Yeah, there's no right.
Okay, you can. No, I'm pretty sure it's the same, even on a Mac.
Nope.
There's
But
no
it's
right
one
click.
button?
You can
Double
press
tap.
your Apple button and then C.
Your Apple
Apple button.
Then your Apple button.
called
and
the
then-
command
I
key.
get my Apple
Every
button
time you
pushed
press that
frequently.
Ooh, I know you do.
But yeah,
Apple
so
makes money, man.
Greg won. Our good friend Greg. He won with Sylvaneth. An interesting list. I actually really like his list. Might try I was looking at it, I like probably have to bring the exact list if I were to play it. Don't really know anything I would change, honestly.
Wow.
Sylvaneth is one of those ones where you don't really have a lot of freedom to change things because it's like you're bringing 12 Kurnoth Hunters.
Yep, it was all the Kurnoth Hunters.
Yeah, it's like Sylvaneth is like you either go hard in on Kurnoth Hunters or like bring a bunch of monsters, and so you don't have a lot of room to like, I'll bring Spite Revenants rather than Tree Revenants. Well, that's stupid unless you're playing Outcasts. So it's just like, so I probably wouldn't change anything if I were to play his list.
Why don't you play James again with his Tempest versus Greg's Sylvaneth?
Maybe I would. I have,
you have the models?
Schedule. I do own all the models, actually.
Okay.
I have actually a pretty large Sylvaneth army somehow.
Very cool.
That
reminds me.
And then doing some gardening of my own. So the wife just bought a bunch of orchids, but those are going to be our house plants. But we used a bunch of extra 2x4s we had lying around the house, and we built a little planter box for our backyard. And so we can just randomly just drill it all together, and then we're probably going to go get some dirt and stuff this weekend and try to just start creating a little garden in the back. The wife's been wanting to do that for a while. We've been putting off the backyard for whatever, but now that we have our fence rebuilt, we kind of feel like
there's a fence back there?
Yeah, I have a full fence in my backyard.
Oh, okay.
I have a new house, so you haven't been to my new house yet.
Oh, you haven't? This isn't the same house that I visited?
No, I bought a house last April.
Oh, okay.
So I live in a new house. So you have not been here. You were going to visit my house at Nova, but then you got really tired and decided to stay.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yes, now I remember. Yes.
Yeah. So you have yet to see my new house, but that one has a fence. And so now that we've replaced one of our fence sides, which was our big project, and the other thing is we got to start putting grass in there. But we're kind of getting excited to do some more yard work, especially with like the sun coming out, and maybe do some yard work in the front. And so that is what I have been working on.
Nice. So you said you're going to do some orchids. Do you know the secret of orchids?
I do not. And my wife is doing orchids. She just bought 8 and ended up with 11 more that arrived today.
Oh, nice.
So now I have, I think, about 15 orchids in my house.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I've been doing orchids for 8-9 years or so now, and really they're real easy. But the only trick with orchids is to use distilled water. Now I have an RODI system, so I produce water that's about 5 TDS, so it's a little bit heavier than actual distilled water. But orchids are, of course, they're not parasitic, but I forget what you call that when epiphytic. So they're an epiphyte that lives typically in other trees, and then the only thing they receive is actually rainwater. So if your water has minerals in it, then the plant can't deal with the water. So that's the secret of orchids, as it were.
All right, I'll pass it on to my wife.
I'm sure she knows what she's doing, though. So far be it from
she's gotten really into orchids since after we bought the house. One of our friends gave us an orchid as a housewarming present, and my wife immediately went to, I'm going to be an orchid person.
Nice.
And has started going really deep into orchids.
It's too bad you weren't into that when you still lived out here in the Bay Area, because actually, as you could imagine, with the Bay Area, there is actually a massive interest in orchids around here. So
yeah, I can imagine.
Wait. People in the Bay Area have yards? How do you afford it?
No, they have water.
They can't.
Stole from
yeah, they have orchids. They have windowsills. You can't. They don't have yards. They have a windowsill that they grow an orchid in. That's why it's popular.
Oh, we kid, but it's true.
I mean, my yard is actually, we just measured it. It's about 500 square feet.
Wow, nice.
Is it? Yeah, it's
your
about 500
yard is
square feet.
500 square feet.
Yes, it's about 25 by 20.
Okay.
That's nice.
That's nice.
So, not a huge
Look at
yard,
you, big old responsible millennial who can afford a house. Look at you.
Yeah,
But
well,
not
I
in
don't live in California anymore, so that helps.
Yeah,
That's true.
and you got to remember, Garrett's wife is super awesome. So
Yeah,
She is awesome.
so that helps. But yeah, so that's me, Jeremy. On to you.
I don't know. I got nothing to beat this. I mean, we'll see.
Come on, Jeremy. You got to have something. I saw you pouring some wine. Still swizzling the wine, my friend?
Yeah,
Plus, you sent us photos of all that work you've been doing, too.
Oh, yeah, I don't really brag, but okay.
I don't really brag, but I work way too much.
Yeah, you're looking a little beef. Is that from lifting all that lumber?
You already had it queued up.
I had it.
I don't want to see
humility.
anything,
but I have a family phone call every week, so it's already in my inventory.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
What the hell am I looking at, Jeremy?
That is the start of my new kitchen floor. I had to. My workbench was removing 3 of 5 layers of flooring because the previous owners over about 110 years decided, let's have a hardwood floor. Let's put another hardwood floor on top.
No way.
And then let's put linoleum in the kitchen.
No way.
And then the last owners put a plywood and then laminate on top.
What?
Oh my God.
So there was 5 layers of flooring in my house, in the kitchen, 4 in the other room.
So your
You
ceilings
just
just
gained
got
like
higher.
3 inches. You like got 3 inches more. How is that legal? Like it's no longer an 8-foot house. Like your ceilings are only like 7.5 feet up.
Dude, I don't.
He's got tall ceilings.
It was finding the linoleum was a very big surprise. We knew there was multiple layers of flooring. We just didn't think there was linoleum in there. Anyway, so we stripped out the linoleum, which is fucking painful. Took forever, fucking chisel and everything. And we started, we laid a concrete layer. Basically, that's what it is, a concrete pad. And then started, lining up our tiles for our kitchen. And you can see it's kind of like an asymmetric, tile, hexagon tiles. Obviously, we actually this is a kind of an earlier photo. We actually laid about 200 tiles down. We're almost done with the kitchen. And then we have to redo the entirety of the other rooms in our first floor, the hardwood floor we bought. So probably next week, you guys will eventually see a photo update of the other work. But it is I love my house, but man, it is every time we do anything in there, remodeling wise, it's just surprise. There's just there's something you did not expect in this. Because I'm a lazy person. But for fuck's sake, when it comes to your house, don't do what my previous owners did. If you're going to invest in putting new flooring in your house, don't not do the demo first. It's the easiest part of the job. I got to break some stuff and remove it. Not only is it cathartic, but it's easy. I don't know why they just decide, you know what? Let's just nail more stuff on top. That's just fun.
When you sent us the text message earlier this weekend, I was shocked. I've helped people redo flooring before and rip out stuff, and I've seen a layer of wood and then another one underneath it. But when you said 3 and a linoleum, I was like, oh, you're gonna have some fun there.
It was and obviously whoever did the linoleum fucked up too, because there was a patch of lacquer, where it was from the 50s, so they had they put the linoleum, and to make it really non-sticky, they put this lacquer finish on top, and some guy must have totally fucked up and left this puddle of lacquer. So when we undid the floor and got to the linoleum, there was just this incredibly still slippery pool of lacquer on there. That was just awful. God. Anyway, it's for people who don't know lacquer is, if you remember Jurassic Park, it's that
That's your example?
Stuck in that fucking emerald, that's lacquer effectively.
Man, you never know what you're gonna find.
You mean amber?
Yeah, amber. He's talking about amber. It's more like a shellac. I lived in this old house, and we pulled the wallpaper off the wall, and underneath it was a mural with all the famous actresses' eyes. And so in the center were Betty Davis's eyes, about 6 feet across, and then all the other 40s and 30s actresses' eyes about 2 feet across, all over the wall. Weirdest thing I've ever seen.
I hate it so much.
Right? It was so weird. But we're just peeling off this old metallic 60s wallpaper, and you got these Betty Davis eyes. It's you're like, what is this? No. At some point we're coming off carefully trying to figure out what the image was. We almost kept it, but no.
Yeah.
It was
The one surprise we did find that was pretty nasty was they must have had like water damage at some point,
Ooh.
and then never did the proper job of like cleaning it. So it was like we when we undid the plywood, we found like some like black mold basically, which is like people get sick off that. So we was explained, my dad was like, that's why you've been sick every winter, like because I usually never get sick that often.
Well,
Whenever you
you know,
this house, I've been sick every winter basically.
with houses that have been around for that long in Oregon too, though, like that happens. You know, like I mean, Jeremy helped me move out of my previous apartment. Thank you again.
That place needs to be condemned, by the way.
It should be condemned, absolutely, because when we kept on, like, I knew that there was a risk for mold, and I was like diligent as all get out when it came to removing black mold. But even then, there was like shit I didn't find, and so like in the move, you know, you move a lot of stuff that you never would have touched, and he was like, "You should have demanded less rent."
Yeah, because your bedroom was like a different ecosystem. You would literally walk in the bedroom, you're like, the humidity level in this room is different than humidity level literally right outside.
Yeah, it's pretty
you had
fucked.
a dehumidifier in that room. I was like, no, there's no way that place should still be like letting people live in it.
Yeah,
You
it was
can
built in the Bronze
smell
Age, by the way.
mold in there. So I was just anyway, glad you moved that. So that's my workbench. Super exciting. Nobody gives a shit except for me. How about you, Alex?
Well, hey, we give a shit, and like I normally, when we're not in this whole pandemic, I'm normally, you know, over at your house pretty frequently. So can't wait to see the awesome flooring.
Yeah, me too.
You know, that's cool. That's a really, you know, I think that it's a big thing. And for those who don't know, you know, that's just one picture of the floor of his kitchen. The wall of his kitchen that has a window on it has black and white hexes in a very similar pattern, like on the wall itself. So there's definitely a theme here with the hexes, like the oblong disjointedness, right?
Yeah, the all
Oblong disjointedness.
the project also includes like asymmetric hexes inside the other rooms, which I know that's confusing. I'll show you guys when it's done. You'll see what we mean. Well, hopefully it'll look good.
I mean, how bad is it? Like, is somebody who like gonna go over and like have it mess with their brain as they're looking for patterns and there are none? They're like, ah.
I would have, honestly, it's my wife's idea. Like when she first started laying the tile, she was just like, look at my face, and she was like, why are you like, obviously you don't like it. I'm like, no, it's just my brain just tries to put all the tiles in like a pattern. Like,
yeah, but she's a
like,
designer.
that's not the point. I'm like, but you don't understand. That's what my brain wants me to do.
Yeah, you gotta leave it to
Unresolved
the creative
tension.
types.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is, I mean, that's it, like if you're looking at art, things like that, like I said, it's unresolved tension. So you're like, you know, you're going to keep looking at the art because your brain is trying to resolve it. So it's going to pull you in.
It's interesting.
I can't wait to see my dog eat shit on that though, because it's so slippery.
Which one?
Both of them. I don't care. One of them.
You just like one of them better eat shit.
Yeah,
Oh,
this one
boy.
hasn't learned how to run on hardwood yet.
Aw.
So he has ate shit a ton running upstairs. Because this is actually a really grippy carpet here, and so that he started running around here, but then he runs around upstairs in the living room. Yeah, and he'll like just slide around the corner and slide into the wall.
Wipe
That's
out.
So funny. When it comes to my workbench, I have a bit. You know, I have a lot of models that I'm stripping that were like models from a very long time ago.
Hey, Alex, you want to split the Indominus box? You want to split?
No, I was going to split it with him.
No, I'm gonna.
Alex, you want to split? Hey, Alex, you want to split?
But I'm keeping the Necron half. He can have the space.
Sorry, I had to.
No, seriously, my favorite was I've seen a lot of them. One of them was the South Park episode when there are a lot of homeless people there, and Stan is like downtown, and a lot of people are asking for change, and he feels surrounded by a bunch of people who are asking for spare change, but people just kept on putting like different tiles. But it's like, want to split, and it's like Necron player. Because everyone wants those damn sexy Primaris. Yeah, I do have three splits going on right now. And then I am not a fan of some of the models that are coming out. So I have already been looking into making my own, since I have so many bits and I have too many Necrons at this point. Basically I have enough to have multiple units of every unit in the range except for the Obelisk, the Tesseract Arc. That's it. I mean, I have 3 pylons. So, and I only have 1 Sereptech heavy construct. But besides that, I basically have multiples of every unit, which is a little probably more than Necrons that I need. But I have enough bits where I'm not a big fan of the Plasmacyte model, the model that's the Kineptech model that's going to come with those new 3-legged destroyers.
Oh,
so I've been thinking about making my own. So I've been looking a little bit of that on my workbench. Well, I have Age of Sigmar stuff on my workbench, but for a very different reason too. Because I actually am stripping some models because I did a test run of maybe a new dynasty for my Necrons. And I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do in terms of colors. I need to strip some of these minis because I tried priming over things that I knew I had likely painted over, but it didn't end up working out as well as I wanted. And that was primarily because I did already, it's basically starting over from a model that's already painted rather than, one that's unpainted. So I already know for a fact that I could just start all new. And I have sprue for Immortals, Praetorians, and Deathmarks and Lichguard here that haven't been built yet, but I want to just kind of strip a model and then try it on that one first before I actually start building anything. And what I did was I was testing out some schemes, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted. Oh, yeah, there you go. There's Carl Payne stuff. See, I'm going to be painting all my own stuff, so it's not going to be the same. But, I have my Bone Reapers, which, it is auto-adjusting. That is awesome. Hold on. What we're going to do.
Hide yourself. You got to put your hand behind the model.
No. I have a way of doing this. I have an autofocus function.
Yeah, but it's not the autofocus. It's the problem. It's the visual background. There you go. Put your hand behind it. I swear to God, it's going to work.
Yeah.
You're killing us, Alex. You're killing us. The problem is that your automatic background replacement recognizes the face on the model too.
Anyways, this is it.
Just turn off the background.
Just clean your room so you can show us the model.
No! There it is.
Oh, there we go. Ooh, so, nice.
That's the scheme for my Bone Reapers. And then I don't care if this focuses because this is not going to be the best. So I actually was like, why don't I just steal the idea for my Necrons? And come on, man, focus.
Oh my God, this is not working out.
Yeah, it's not working out. I'm not going to worry about it. But you get the idea. You get the idea that I'm testing out basically a metallic version of my Bone Reaper army. So that is something that's basically been consuming most of my time lately, is to kind of figure out how I can make equivalents, because, I'm not going to have the brown, petrified bone that I had in my Bone Reaper army, but now I'm going to have metallic joints. And then how do I put my paints in a way where they can easily be a mixture of paint and metallic with the exact color that I want, rather than, say, going to Vallejo and getting the color shift paints or anything like that. And I'm also not doing a lot of airbrush right now, but I realize I'm actually going to go over to a friend of mine's on Friday, and my airbrush is 10 years old and it's just seen better days. So I'm just going to go to his house. I have the proper paint that I need, and I'm going to prime it the way I need, base coat it with a very high silver, which Games Workshop doesn't have, a bright silver spray for primer. They only have the lead belcher, which is a little bit more of a gunmetal. So I'm going to be essentially priming it black or Veysseire or even lead belcher, then hitting it with a base coat of the this brighter silvery color. I actually think I have it with me right now. It is Vallejo, but it's I think it's alcohol based. It is liquid one. I unfortunately have paint over the label, so I can't fully read it, but it's definitely Vallejo, and it's a really, really nice paint. And I'm gonna and it works really well with an airbrush, so I'm gonna be hitting it with that, because I have tested on several scarabs as well to see how everything from paint that's been watered down with medium works, glazes from Games Workshop, P3 inks, contrast paints, and then paints that are not contrast, like layer paints with contrast medium added to them or regular medium added to them, to really see what looks best over a silver backdrop. Because you guys might know, John certainly knows, that like with my old Necrons, which are white and blue, I was very much against using any metallic ever. So like the joints were black with a highlight, and then the purple was made in a certain way. And honestly, I was adding more steps than I needed to, and I wasn't yet as advanced in the hobby as I am now. So I'm making my life easier, but also I'm doing it better than I did before. So that's the long story short. So I'm excited to try.
That's interesting. That brought an interesting thought to mind. I mean, your skills have improved, but your skills have improved because of doing all that work. And I wonder, in this modern world of contrast paints, if there are sort of newer hobbyists that are not being pushed or forced to develop those skills because of the ease of the tools that they have to them now.
Maybe.
So I'll say yes, that is true, because I am not improving because I don't put in the effort. I kind of have just like a baseline that is good enough, but I think I think there is a stark difference between, like, my quality is not ever going to achieve what like you or Alex or even Jeremy can do. Like any of you guys, I'll never reach your quality. I mean, like, Jeremy doesn't always paint all his own stuff, and it's like you guys are well above my painting quality. And I'll never reach that unless I put in the effort. And I think there's still going to be like paint classes are still going to be a thing, because like contrast is great for getting people baseline armies, but like they're still never going to let you get to that level that you guys have through putting in all the effort of learning the techniques and going through all the trouble. And so I yes, but no, because people who want to have that next level will then put in the effort.
Yeah.
But the nice thing about contrast is, but the nice thing about contrast is there's no longer this major gap where it's like people like me who don't want to put in the effort, I can still get an army on the table that everyone can at least appreciate looking at, and it's not like that's shit. Yeah. And so you don't have that massive gap anymore. You have this like people like me who like to play the games. Like, I want to have painted models, but I don't want to put in the effort because I don't find as much enjoyment out of painting as you guys do. Contrast gives me that ability to have something that looks good on the page.
Now, I gotta say with that, with my OBR army, it's a perfect example. Actually, with my Night Hunt army, it's a perfect example, because my Night Hunt army was initially used. I initially used a lot of the technical paints, and then I repainted them and used a lot of the contrast with some mixtures of other paints here and there. But then when I started to paint Lady O, I wasn't really happy with the effects of contrast paint and how it worked out. And so I started making changes in that. So it was like, contrast is convenient in some instances, but then what helped me as a hobbyist was I was using contrast like almost too much. And then I went, oh, I don't like this. How do I figure out how to fix this? Oh, exactly. I have to do this, this, and this, and go through these extra steps. And then I became proficient in them. So with like my OBR, for instance, it's almost like contrast is a base coat for me. And then I started adding a bunch on. So it was like, the burgundy is multiple layers of, it's like my burgundy, for example, is 2 thin layers of the Volupus pink contrast, then a wash of Duchy violet, then I have Screamer pink layer on that, then I have a highlight of Warp Fiend gray. So like, that's not anything that's like, it's not like one coat of contrast and then you let it go, right? And then even then, like, I'm actually not a big fan of weapons being utilized, like my Nadrite Great Blades, or not Nadrite, my Spirit Great Blades or whatever on my Mortec, those are actually done with contrast, whereas my Nadrite blades are done through the same process, like Games Workshop's standard process on like how they used to make Blackstone on a monolith, for a Necron monolith, prior to this new Blackstone stuff that's been coming out. And I really like the way my Nadrite blades are, but I hate the way that my Spirit blades are, because I use just contrast and a highlight of like Nihilic Oxide. So I was like, oh, like, how do I make this better? And so I got to say, like, contrast is great because it does help people who are much more like beginner or novice level hobbyists start to figure out, oh, well, like I never went to a class, you know, and my airbrush is kaput. So it makes me learn non-airbrushed ways of painting and proper ways to use a brush and take care of a brush and all these other rudimentary stuff. And then you just get better from there, you know. But that is what's on my workbench. Long story short, outside of that, I think Jeremy and I might be gaming. I'm not completely sure. I miss the guy. It'd be good to get a game in sometime and, you know, maybe play OBR, maybe play Night Hunt. Bronson's got my Night Hunt. I don't know. And then we do have some things going on here. You know, I'm drinking like a LaCroix and a nice coffee because we are doing a little bit of a health kick. You know, I didn't gain a lot of weight on COVID, but I think a lot of us gained some kind of weight here and there. So I'm trying to get rid of a little bit of the stuff in the primary one.
0-3.
I picked up 30 pounds since COVID.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'm ready to hit the gym.
In all honesty,
by the way, our county is reopening on the 19th.
I know, and I don't think I'm going to go to the gym yet.
Like
that's
full reopening or just
it's phase one. Phase one reopening.
You should not be, but we'll see. I was going to ask, aren't you coming to Bend for the 9th edition Wallapalooza?
I was never invited. I'm sure I was. You know what? Actually, don't quote me. I may not. I may have been invited. But
is this like that scene from Parks and Rec where you have a spam folder for Ben stuff and so you just never realize you're invited?
Yeah. We have disagreements politically, so I put them in my spam filter.
If I had the accuracy and the skill, I would throw something at you from here.
That's fair. Well, that's why you got to work out that arm now. So, you know, once the gym's back up and running. Yeah, so we're trying to get our poop in a group, our shit back together. Because, I think I gained 8 pounds, but, you know, I guarantee I lost, like, muscle mass and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, time to kick it into gear. So I'm actually not going to be drinking for a while. So that's going to be fun. But, you know, of course, we're not here to talk about, you know, floors and weight and all this stuff. We're here to talk about Lumineth. So, you know, we, of course, have been given a lot of information about Lumineth the last few, you know, months, you know, since LVO.
Personally, we have given.
Yeah, no one
has.
For the record, if there's people who would like to give us that information, we would love to. We would love to accept it in any form. You know, we'll
turn it down.
Fine.
I promise I'll be nice.
There you go. So we've obviously been given a lot of information about Lumineth. We already know what their endless spells do. We know some very basics. And of course, we know most of the units that are going to come out. I'm sure that there's maybe one or two we know for a fact there's at least one that we have no idea what the name is yet. It's that, or actually maybe we do, that caster, the one with like the mirror pool.
The water caster.
The water caster person. Yeah, see, we know so much about him. But, you know, of course.
The water bender.
The water bender. There you go. That would actually be a really cool theme because part of the fluff of Lumineth now is that they're a kind of segmented, disjointed society, but it's all, of course, one thing. You know, they're all basically high elves with some battle cattle allies. And, you know, the articles that have been coming out this week and last week, they really show off a lot of the extra story. And, you know, I actually am very shocked that they're not shying away from the fact that these are basically AOS high elves. I thought that they were, for maybe copyright reasons or for some other reasons, really trying to like do what they did with Ideneth or do what they did with Fire Slayers or even Cities of Sigmar and really try to not talk about the old world and really try to focus on, you know, this new stuff. And I mean, in this latest article this week on how to play Lumineth, they straight up say, this is our equivalent to Always Strikes First because these are high elves. You know, like they make every intention to tell you this is AOS high elves, which is fine. I'm totally okay with that. I just think it's funny that you can use high elf models.
I mean, people have been begging for high elves since Age of Sigmar dropped.
Yeah, no, I get
it. This is them finally going like, okay, guys, you've been asking for years. Here you go.
Here you go. Eat it up. And honestly, I am kind of surprised at how they're going to end up playing. Like, if you told me at LVO, when they started previewing, you know, tech lists, if you told me that they were going to have an Always Strikes First mechanic and basically steal mechanics from other armies like OBR.
They don't
and
have
Caradon.
always strike first.
What?
They don't.
They don't have an always strike first.
They get to.
They have a double strike
simultaneously.
mechanic.
They have, and I quote, the spiritual successor to always strike first.
Oh
Yeah,
my God.
God, no.
They
It's a
literally-
double strike
they-
Fuck
attack.
yourself.
That is a word for word quote on the Games Workshop website. So, but there's a lot here. And the first thing that I want to bring up is going to be the first thing that they list, of course. And that's going to be that Aether Quartz Reserve, which
Is that the
is
Ether Gold?
No.
Yeah, I think
No,
that's what he
Aether
said.
Quartz.
Is it Ether Gold?
I think
Is
that's
that
what
what
he
it
said.
is?
Quartz.
Pretty sure it's
So-
Ether Gold.
Yeah, I think it's Ether Gold.
It's Aether Quartz.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
It's
So
so sad because the rule on that is like verbatim the
it is.
Right,
It says,
right.
Is it?
You can use it once for phase, and after you use
Wait.
it, you lose a bravery. Like,
wait,
where have I heard
can
that
someone
before?
put a screenshot of the Caradon
Yeah,
Overlord
I got
rule?
you.
Because I will read the Lumineth one word for word right now. Let's double check to see if it's the exact same verbiage. Because
Oh,
that would
wow.
actually be hilarious.
But it,
I mean,
but it
that would
does a
be-
different
it would be
function.
smart of
I mean,
them.
the way it affects the models might be the same, but what you do with it is different.
Oh yeah. It's different when you get it, but the penalty is the same.
Oh, right, yeah.
So it
It's-
says
yep.
for each Lumineth Realm Lord army, or each unit in a Lumineth Realm Lord army starts the battle with one Aether Quartz Reserve.
Okay, so it's already
phase,
better than Ether
You can
Gold.
say one unit will use their Aether Quartz Reserve to use one of the following Aether Quartz Reserve abilities. However, if you do so, subtract one from the unit's bravery characteristic for the rest of the battle. And they only really gave us one ability that you can use for that, which is Heightened Senses, which is an ability that you pick when you shoot or you fight. And if you do so, you can reroll ones made for that unit. They also have that lightning reaction, but I don't know if if that actually is going to be something you can use Aether Quartz on. It sounds like that's an ability that might be used elsewhere, or like a
Yeah, I
generic
thought
ability.
lightning reaction was just something the whole army had.
So it's directly
You guys-
under this
You guys
thing.
not reading. You guys don't understand how lightning reaction works, right?
I understand how it is.
No, with the Lumineth mechanic, it's 4 units swinging at the same time. Remember, so Lumineth have the spiritual successor of always strike first.
Okay,
Which is-
well,
No. If you go back to it, it's each time a Lumineth unit activates and swings, you can immediately activate another Lumineth unit. And
oh my
swing.
god.
So lightning reaction is you activate 2 units simultaneously. After both those units have finished activating, based on what I understand, you can activate 2 more units based on the Lumineth mechanic.
Yeah, but based on your logic there, that means that actually the whole army gets to swing first, because then it just splits off and splits off and splits
It's not
off.
about swinging
How does
first.
it stop at 4?
It's not about swinging first. It's when your first activation starts, you can choose a lightning reaction to activate 2 units
Yes, I follow.
immediately. And then the ability, the generic Lumineth ability is that anytime a unit activates, you can activate another unit.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
so he's saying
forgot
lightning
about that.
reaction. Lightning
Yes.
reaction is an Ether Quartz ability.
Yeah, it's an Ether Quartz ability.
Yeah, and
Lightning
unless you
reaction is
activate
Ether
2 at
Quartz
once, and then each of those can then activate another 2, another 1.
I don't
So you
understand how
get
that
4.
works, because an Ether Quartz is associated to 1 unit. So do you spend an Ether Quartz on both units
Depends.
to do that?
Remember,
or just
No,
one?
it doesn't say that Ether Quartz is required for the lightning reactions. I'm looking at the web page here, and there's a meanwhile. I think that is a different function.
Yeah, I think it's a different function. I agree. I think it's a different function. But the thing is, it doesn't give us full confirmation until we have the book in hand. So I can see the confusion, but I agree with John. The verbiage of that paragraph seems as though it's different, but it doesn't outright say, hey, and this is something that's totally different. Here you go. That being said, if it does end up being something that is Aether Quartz, not going top to bottom, of course, from the preview here, there are a lot of, it seems like there's going to be ways to get extra Aether Quartz, almost like, abilities with, OBR and getting more command points through the use of a spell, or so maybe there's going to be a spell or some other way.
I know what it is, actually. I'm thinking about it. So you got to kind of picture the whole army, and ether quartz being a mineral. You're going to mine a mineral, but there's a big cow theme. So I'm picturing you have to come up to the big cow mountain creature and milk its crystal udders to get more ether quartz. So there's probably a roll to see whether you're successful with milking the crystal udders on the cow mountain.
I hate it. I hate it so much. Well, and actually, in terms of the fluff too, they're really trying to give you a wide range of ways to play, and they outright tell you that there's like in terms of both gameplay and in terms of like fluff for Lumineth, they have a very heavy cast system, and like their continent is divided into like 9 separate parts. So like they talk about how each group is like completely different, but the only thing that they have similar is like that they're high elves, basically, whatever they're going to be called now. And yeah, it's really interesting to me that
how big an army do you think we're looking at with these guys?
So before I get there, I actually want to mention something about the Aether Quartz, because there's ways to really get more bang for your buck. I mean, they have the tribe or the group called Ithala, like Elathia, or I don't know, Elven names, real weird. Good luck. And basically, they have a command ability that says when you use the command ability, you can use this command ability in the shooting phase, the combat phase. If you do, you can pick 2 units in your army to reroll hit rolls of 1, and that's pretty helpful. You can do these things where you can use multiple abilities for multiple units, and then even then, the other kind of sub faction they recommended or revealed to us was one that's called Sire, and just their starting ability is that every unit in the battlefield comes with 2 Aether Quartz reserves instead of 1. So
wow,
that's going to give a lot of, and I don't think they're going to really give a shit about.
All I got to say is poor KO here, where you need a unit of 10 or more to get your ether gold.
I don't care.
And
KO can shove it.
We're just going to pass out ether quartz like candy. Well, ether gold, you got to be a high tier person to get some ether gold. That 5-man unit of cavalry, they get some ether quartz. But
well, I mean, you got to look at it like it's like quartz versus gold. Again, everybody has quartz laying around. I go back in my backyard, I'll find some quartz. Not going to find any gold back there.
Fair.
Yeah, but the problem is either quartz are processed from the tiers of Techless.
Oh, is it tears of Techless
everywhere?
Not milking the udders of the mountain cow?
Wait, you took me for serious? No.
Dude,
I
cannot wait to see the
crying
rules.
constantly because ether quartz is handed out like candy.
I cannot wait to see the rules for the attack yak.
Well, you did see some of them in the preview because it's an Alarif unit. So any Alarif mechanic functions on the rock, the bovine creatures as they describe them.
Yeah.
Tell us more.
Yeah.
So Alarif units can choose to assume a rock stance, a mountain stance, because that's where they're from, the mountains. Mm-hmm. They're the hillbillies of Eliminative. If you do so until your next hero phase, if the weapon used for an attack that targets an Alarif unit in the mountain stance is a rend characteristic of -1, change the rend characteristic to -0 dash, basically. Which is mind-boggling because it doesn't say there's any negatives. Like, it just says at the start of your hero phase or before the battle starts, you can be in mountain stance.
This sounds a lot like the old swooping rules from.
I don't know, too.
Why not just make it an always thing if there's no negatives?
Oh, because if you don't go first, you don't get it.
No, it says before the first battle round begins and at the start of any of your hero phase. So there must be a negative because I don't get why they would just write it.
Might be multiple.
You got to remember this is a preview, so maybe there's like an aggressive stance too, and you got to declare.
Oh, maybe there's a trade-off. Like you can have an additional +1 rand on your weapons instead. I don't know. But the really cool mechanic is the Alarif units can, and this is where the game is gonna get. Like Age of Sigmar's pretty quick.
I completely agree.
Pretty quick game. That rule is going to slow down the game drastically.
Who wants to share it?
So we're talking about Tectonic Force, and that is so any Alarif unit gets this. At the end of each combat phase, you can pick one enemy unit within 1 inch of each friendly Alarif unit. You cannot pick the same enemy unit more than once in the same phase. After you pick each unit, your opponent must move that unit 2 inches, and that unit must finish that move more than 1 inch from any Alarith unit from your army if it is possible to do so. Once those enemy units have been forced to move any friendly Alarith units that are within 3 inches of any enemy units can make a 1-inch pilot move, which is basically, remember like 300 or like any like hoplite movies where they do like the shield wall push? That's basically what that is.
I love it. I love it from a lore standpoint. That sounds awesome. The 300 shield wall push, but yeah, moving exactly 2 inches. Cool. That's going to be fun to measure. Exactly 2-inch movement.
No more, no less.
No more, no less. And you have to make sure you stay exactly over at least an inch away. So it's like
more than 1 inch away.
It's nice when you got 2 characters, but you got a big block of 30 against a block of 30.
I just don't understand it because, like, mathematically, it's impossible to move 2 inches and be more than 1 inch away. It's mathematically impossible. So we'll just assume it's 1 inch away.
If you move 2 inches, you're 2 inches away.
You're correct.
I was like, what do you mean, Jeremy? If you move 2 inches, you're 2 inches away. It's really easy to be more than 1 inch away.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know where we're coming from this one.
That doesn't work.
Yeah, all I can say is when I first read this rule, immediately I said to myself, how can I game this rule?
Oh my God, right?
What can I do to jank this rule up? How can I take advantage of it? And to me, that's the problem with this rule. If you know, a nice, polite, innocent player like myself would instantly want to do something devious with a rule like that, you can imagine how somebody like our good friend James or somebody get a hold of that.
Oh my
rule.
gosh!
Let alone Jeremy, you know, do something truly vile with a rule like that once they allow it to churn in their devious little minds. So yeah, I think you guys elicited or already stated some of the problems, sort of the mechanical challenges of this rule, and I don't think it takes a lot of imagination to see that this is a rule that's going to cause a little bit of a tension between the players when there's know, and it's going to be about when do you do it and how often are you doing it.
This reminds me of back when the FAQ came out for a 2nd edition, where if you had like 2 models exactly the same distance away from a unit, like they're like 2 inches away, you couldn't pile in. And so people were like, there's this whole threads online about making a unit not be allowed to pile in because they are exactly triangulated away from like 3 different units or something. And I'm like,
yep.
This is bullshit. This feels exactly the same. Like you could just like fuck with a unit.
There's a couple of things here that, you know, of course, these are previews, right? So there are some things that we're not privy to yet. When it comes to this ability, I think that it's really good. And, you know, because I'm not going to start a Lumineth army, when I first read this rule, I immediately thought the exact opposite of John. Instead of how can I game it, I was thinking, how can I fuck with my opponent who's going to use this on me? Or how can I prevent them from taking full advantage of this? And with my OBR army, it's going to be a little bit harder to do so. But with other armies, especially armies that have a lot of flying units, Night Haunt, very killy units that are based around the fly keyword on any faction, you know, things that can charge over models or pile in over models or, you know, do things like that where they don't really, as long as they're an inch away, or as long as they're still within that 1 inch coherency of each other, can still be around in certain angles.
Oh, I see what you're saying, Alex. Yeah, when you get the units mixed, huh?
Exactly. So when you start, if say I had a unit of chain rasps and this guy, and there was a person with a Lumineth unit, and you know they all have 32-inch bases, and I can fit like 125 mil base right in there in base contact with like 3 of them, and then everyone else is just up on the front, and as long as he's in coherency, cool. I got to move 2 inches away. Oh, shoot! I can't actually move that model and not be with outside of an inch.
No.
Guess we're not doing it.
That's not how that one works. They actually wrote it specifically for that bullshit.
How?
Okay.
Tell me how that doesn't work.
Your opponent must move that unit 2 inches, and that unit must move that move more than 1 inch from any Alarith unit from your army if it is possible for it to do so. If it can't end with 1 inch, you still have to move 2 inches. So
and break coherency.
No.
Oh, jeez. Oh, my gosh. Well, I hope this is significant. Like, I can see both your arguments, but like
I'll give you a context.
You're breaking
Let's
the
say I
game with
surround-
this rule, sir.
Let's say I surround Nagash with an Alarif unit, and I use this rule.
Yeah.
you can't move.
too.
Yeah, he can't move, so he's not moving.
Right, but that's the same thing with your chain ras.
That's
No,
what
I think
said.
so. In Alex's point, he's saying I'm unable to move this one guy outside of 1 inch, so
But
nobody.
if he was in coherency at the beginning and he can't move, then the rest of the unit has to maintain coherency while trying to move 2 inches. You don't.
No,
that's
it doesn't say. There's nothing here that says you have to maintain coherency.
No, it
Well,
just says
anytime you
have-
move, you have to make.
you have to be
Anytime you
doing
move,
it
you absolutely have to
possible.
maintain coherency.
and
But is this a
breaking
move?
coherency.
Yes,
It says move more.
Does it say move 2 inches? John?
It says
Yeah.
move. It
Must
says
move
move.
that unit.
No,
2 inches.
they
And it
must
says-
move the unit, but is that a move?
Yes,
No, but
it
it-
has the
keep in
word
mind-
move in it, John.
No.
Oh my God.
So this is really annoying, but he's right.
So
He's right.
The verbiage says unit.
It is not a
One
normal
model.
move, but it is a move.
If one model in a unit can move 2 inches, but one of them can't, you fulfill the requirement as long as that one model did.
Yeah, this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be. This book is gonna be
you know what?
awesome.
I'm not. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
one rule, man. Okay, so outside of talking about this, which it sounds like we could do a whole episode talking about this one rule. It's also important to note that this is a specific keyword, and I don't think every unit in the army is going to have this keyword. Nor do I think that
It's
this
to move people.
They
is
actually
gonna be-
give you a list.
This is going to be battle cattle. This is going to be horny hat guys, and like that
Horny
special
hat
guy on a rock.
guys?
You know what I mean?
Is that what we're calling them? Horny hat guys?
That was my name on the fly. We can call them whatever. We
Oh,
want.
I'm
Look,
so
James
in. I want
Oshep
the army
calls them-
more now.
There we
Dave
go.
Sochap calls them the hammer-wielding chaps. I'll be
There you
honest,
go.
a horny hat guy sounds better.
I like horny hat guys.
Horny hat guys.
I'm going to take that for sure.
Stone Lords.
But of course, that's just one of many different things we're starting to learn here. You guys, I of course read through this, and when I read through this, I only read through it once this morning, pre-coffee, because these articles come out around the same time I start my day. So I had missed something that was pretty big, and it's kind of at the end of the article, and you guys made me aware of it in the middle of the day today, but we mentioned it right before recording as well. So I think you guys know what I'm talking about here. And
It's a wizard army.
No, I don't
You're
know.
a
what we're
wizard,
talking
Harry?
about. Can we just have a drum roll?
yeah,
You're a wizard, Harry.
Yeah, Garrett just mentioned that. So apparently the army is going to be a whole army of wizards, which is a little wild.
Your spears, your bows, your wizards, like your cow people, they're all wizards. Everyone's a wizard. You're all like, oh my God.
Yes.
They all
thank
can
you.
unbind. I think they mentioned all of them can unbind. All of them can cast. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it says, in case you've not been keeping up, that pikemen, horsemen, and bowmen can cast magic. Each can unbind enemy spells and use the power of Ish, a spell that boosts their excellent sun metal weapons and make them frankly terrifying against armored foes.
yeah. Oh yeah. We forgot about the fun weapons rule, Alex. The new Nadrite weapons, where the spearman
Take it
on
away.
sixes to hit mortal wounds. Woo!
Can you?
Yeah, those
you wanna
Nadrite weapons
read
are
it
like
out
a
for
real
us?
fucking. I don't have it up on here. I just going off memory.
It's the example they gave is from the pikeman war scroll, but it's really clearly apparent that like there will be many sun metal weapons. Sun metal weapons is if it's like a version of the Hearthguard Berserker mechanic where if they roll an unmodified 6 to hit, they inflict 1 mortal wound, except theirs is that ends the attack sequence. And then the Power of Ish spell, which apparently every unit can cast, and you can cast as many times as you want, including match play rules, is you convert that 6 unmodified to a 5-up unmodified, which for me is on a cast value of 6, I should say. So it's not a 5. If it was a cast value of 5, so it's like, whoo, that is
You mean like
bullshit.
pause protection?
Cast value 6, like there's still a chance it's not going to go up. But the fact you can cast it as many times as you want, and each unit is a wizard, it's like it's probably going to be on the unit that matters the most. Like, oh, I felt that one.
On terrain tables, you're going to be really hoping that you get table 2, and you're going to be hoping that you get 6 a lot.
I don't understand the design of releasing 3 battle tomes this year, or 4 battle tomes, 3 of it which are it's magic focus, magic focus, not magic at all, and then magic again. So,
who was the
you know what? Those demon fire rifts, they're gonna be fucking everywhere.
Oh yeah, Tzeentch is already in a very strong spot.
Yep.
Now they're just like, oh, a whole army of wizards, you say? It's like that and Cities of Sigmar players that have phoenixes. They're just
So
like,
do you think the elves will be able to counter Tzeentch, or they're just going to get gobbled up by Tzeentch?
gobbled up.
Gobbled up.
I don't know.
Because here's the thing. They're going to be like, no matter how, I mean, this is going to be a big shift in the meta, right? If every unit has a sun weapon, and this is an ability that everyone can use, that's going to be wild. They're going to have better than Nadrite blades, or better than demonette claws, whatever, right? It's far superior in every way possible because it's on a 6-up or a 5-up, and it's a straight mortal wound. It's not like an extra hit roll or whatever. So it's wonderful, and yeah, I fully expect, if this is the case, that they will still have the ability to unbind, so they can unbind a demon rift, but that demon rift is going to gobble up a whole army, because especially in the other faction, the one that's not battle cattle based, the one that's more the Alarith faction or keyword for units, that one where if everyone's within an inch of each other, or if at least one model has 2 other models touching it base to base,
if every model
unit
has,
yeah, then you get -1. Your opponents are -1 to hit against that unit because they're like shielding up. They're locking in. So if they're all tightly wound together, these units, a demon rift is just gonna have a walk in the park.
I mean, we'll see what Techless is like. I bet you Techless has the ability to just unbind shit willy-nilly.
Yeah, he can just auto unbind 4 spells every turn.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds about right.
So here's a question for everyone, but mainly for Jeremy. Does that mean that I shouldn't sell my last Demons of Tzeentch Start collecting box?
You should probably wait until people actually want to, play the game again, or can't.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. But I mean, like, if Lumineth is as wild as it might be, and I might just pick up a Demon Rift.
I've been telling you should play demons anyway, because you need to be a better player, and the only way I think you're going to be a better player is if you play Demons of Tzeentch. I honestly think so. Or Tzeentch in general.
Okay, well, first of all, ouch.
We had this conversation on the podcast literally like 2 months ago.
You're opening up old wounds.
Literally the only person who can tell Alex he needs to be a better player too.
I'm gonna pinpoint one more thing about this unit. If the basic model Battleline units isn't like 120 points for 5 models,
140.
Well, it depends how many wounds. I mean, imagine they're 2 wounds a pop.
Oh, if they're 2 wounds a pop, that's like.
I don't think
Chaos
2 wounds
Warriors
a
are
pop.
100. 5 Chaos Warriors is what, 90, 100 at 2 wounds a
90
pop?
points, I think. But
These guys are better than Chaos Warriors.
They don't do nearly as much as a Chaos Warrior. I think they're going to be 2 wounds a pop, actually.
When you say 2 wounds a pop, are you talking about the spear guys?
Like a basic elf. It's going to be 2.
Oh, no. I definitely don't think they're going to be 2. I think they're going to be 1.
No, I think they're
look at
going
the
to be 2
models.
wounds a pop.
Look at the models, right?
They're on 32 mil basis.
That's fine. They're on 32 mil.
So
there
we're
are plenty
Ideneth.
of. Yeah, Ideneth are on 32s. Nighthunter on
but
32s. They're all 1 wound. So I mean,
they haven't had enough souls. I don't know. I think they're going to be 2 wounds a pop, and they're going to be like a 120, 140 range for 5 models.
So they're like a head bigger than these Plague Monks in one image, and then they're a head shorter than Chaos Warriors in the next image. I really think
it's not about the model size. It's just the mechanic of the army is supposed to be an elite army. That's how they play. Elite armies usually have models of 2 wounds. That's like the core component.
Yeah, it's true. I think that the battle cattle, because of how armored they look, are going to be 2 wounds, or maybe even 3. But I am going to be shocked if the standard infantry are going to be 2 wounds.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I keep looking at Ideneth. There's a nice elite elf army. I think that we can draw a lot from point levels and other things when we look at
Yeah,
item.
but the elite Idenef are 4 wounds a pop.
Well, those are cavalry, though.
Yeah, but cavalry usually adds 1 wound.
No, they
No,
usually have 2.
no, not even that.
Well, then
What
that makes my
Skull
point even better.
Skull crushers. What about all the every single?
You're looking at
Stormcast-
heavy cav there. No, normal, like 1 wound. Cavalry adds 1 wound.
Well, an
normally.
eel is obviously a heavy calf. Look how long
Yeah,
it is.
exactly.
An eel is heavy cav.
And it's still a 4 wound model, John.
It adds
It's
3
just like a
wounds.
blood crusher.
Well, to be fair, a skull crusher adds 3 wounds.
So
You go from 2 wounds.
I don't
to
know.
5.
Like I would be shocked if there were only 1 wound a pop. I would be incredibly shocked if there were only 1 wound a pop.
I wouldn't. I mean, like, they're cavalry.
Elves.
If cavalry come in 3 model units, the cavalry usually add 3 wounds.
So you also got to think
And-
about the tropes, right? You're talking about an army of essentially high elves, like high fantasy elves. In what world are they like hardy and resilient and can take a bunch of damage?
The Tolkien books?
What?
Where they come from?
Okay, let me rephrase it.
Dwarves in those
In
books.
things in stories, products, and rules that Games Workshop Limited has created.
Oh, the
Have elves
Tolkien
ever been
stuff.
hardy and tough as nails? No. They've been hit hard, hit fast, maybe can't take a hit as well.
Yeah,
I don't think
fast.
they're going to be a glass hammer. That's Ideneth. But
Yeah.
like,
I mean, well, if you're looking at some of the leaked stuff from a White Dwarf, they have the Illyrid Stone Guard are going to have 3+ saves, ignoring Rend 1 and 2, and probably some rerolls in there.
And blocks of 30, probably max, I
well,
would
you can
say.
use your Aether Gold for rerolls. So
Yeah, there you go.
I can't see them, like, all those mechanics you just described in the current meta environment does fucking jack shit if you don't ignore mortal wounds.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't, like, I don't care how many Ren fucking modifiers you ignore and how many reroll saves you have. If you don't have a mechanic that ignores mortal wounds,
Yeah, Tzeentch
or
won't give a
have
shit.
extra wounds, that shit isn't gonna, like, do you much.
Tzeentch and Seraphon and a
And
lot.
Lumineth!
And
A Lumineth
itself.
on Lumineth art matchup is, like, absolutely fucking brutal.
Oh, I bet. Well, I guess we'll know pretty soon. I mean, according to the website, the pre-order comes out this weekend. So a couple days, really.
We'll see them on the New Zealand website on Friday at, like, 4 p.m., right?
Yeah, probably. So we're gonna find out a little bit more. Any final thoughts, everyone, about Lumineth?
I'm planning on picking up the collector's set or whatever it is that's coming out.
Yeah,
I think it's worth
too.
checking into. Ultimately,
It's really
this
good
is
value.
I myself am not looking forward to painting an elf
What?
army. I have my last elf army that's still half painted. So I am actually considering breaking down and having somebody commission paint this army for me. So I got to find myself an appropriate artist and then
heard
start
of
the
Carl
discussion of
Kent.
them, whether we want me to build them for them or they want to do the building. It seems like you're keeping Carl pretty busy. And I know that Carl is an amazing artist. I don't necessarily want to pay for an amazing artist. I want to pay for an okay artist.
That's like earlier this week when I
By
asked
the way,
Israel for
guys,
some painting
whoever
advice.
he picks, he doesn't mean it.
It's like when I asked
Whoever
Israel
John
for painting
picks,
advice,
doesn't
and he was
mean
like,
it's an okay
well, first of all, you need 2 separate airbrushes for 2 separate jobs, and then you need this, and I'm like, no, Izzy.
I hope Izzy listens to this podcast and that John asks Izzy if he wants to.
Oh, if he listens to this podcast, which I know he doesn't, he's gonna be like, why didn't John ask me?
I didn't even choose to say anything. When he told you that you should get a Sotar 2020 and it was the most reliable airbrush ever, I
Check out.
I'm done arguing with people. That's all I gotta say. I will say the Sotar 2020 is an amazing detail brush. I've painted individual teeth on a miniature. I've painted highlights on the tongue in the mouth of a miniature. The Sotar is incredible how small a spot, but reliable, easy. No, it's taken me years to get to where I can use that damn brush reliably. And in no small part, it was taking classes with Caleb where he focused on that brush that actually turned it from a nightmare into a usable tool for me.
It was my first airbrush. That was a mistake.
That sounds like it was a mistake.
It wasn't my first, but it was my first modern one. My wife bought it for me. I'm like, I couldn't use it. I'm like, I need a cheaper airbrush to figure out how to airbrush with.
Yeah,
that's fair. Wow.
Yeah,
On the other hand, Alex, you were
mine
mentioning
died
that, let's
on
see, you use the Iwata Eclipse, right? This is your,
Yeah, that's my airbrush.
there's
Yeah, see, you have the issue I had.
right. But I know how to work it.
Ooh.
There
I know
we
how
go.
to use an airbrush too. It's just been a very long time since I've
No,
done
I don't mean the airbrush. I'm not questioning whether you know how to use airbrush. I mean my
Oh.
background.
You're not stubborn enough to keep it up. There, yeah.
Yeah, so
Fair.
love this airbrush. Great airbrush. The Iwata, this is an Iwata Eclipse. Love this brush. Really nice action on it. Nothing but good things to say about it.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm gonna have to take a look at something, and I do. I would love to see an army that you painted of battle cattle and high elves. And honestly, what I think would be cool, if you choose not to do a commission paint, is I would love to see like the exact opposite, totally contrasting color scheme than your Ideneth. So like whatever your color wheel you got for the main colors of your Ideneth, which is a mix of colors, just like go for the exact opposite set of colors and then just make that your Lumineth, because truly they are like the opposite end of like Teclis's first draft versus Teclis's second draft. So I think that that's kind of funny. And even in the artwork that they've been posting lately, like someone posted something on Twitter and I didn't even notice it. In one of the pieces of artwork with the Lumineth, there's a Lumineth spearman, whatever they're called. And in the background, there's a little design or like magic flowing through it, and then a little circle by its feet. And then there's like an elf looking up that's got like gray skin and bald, and it looks upset, like looking up from like a portal. And I'm like, that's a deep kid. Like,
Oh.
I'm like, damn, that's dark. He's like, I don't care about these guys anymore.
GW doesn't either, I tell you. And that's the only thing that worries me with Lumineth. And I don't think that's going to be the case, but I feel that that I've learned a little bit of a lesson with my Ideneth as well. Because when the Ideneth came out, I was super excited. I bought everything that they released, and they haven't released anything else for the army.
They never will.
And I don't expect they ever will. And that to me is part of my dissatisfaction with them is the day they came out, I owned the entire collection. I'll never have to build another Ideneth model. I only have to paint.
They do feel like a lackluster faction that seems like they're like half a faction.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it's kind of like Fire Slayers too. I mean, but at least Fire Slayers got like a warband.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I was actually talking about, like, I would love to see like Daughters of Cain and Ideneth like merged into an elf book or something.
See?
That'll never happen. But it's like that would give you a book that's like, oh look, here's your elves, and so all the missing pieces, like what they like after Orc War Clans came out, we're like, that's what we want for elves.
That's what they did for Skaven, Orc War Clans.
You know what they could do is they could make it a Cities of Sigmar equivalent, but for armies that currently have books. But it would require them to have the Shadow Elves come out, because we already know what Malaran looks like. We already know that they're a thing. We already know that they exist, and we already know that they're actively revving them up in fluff.
And they have models now.
They don't. Oh well, they have like one model, or they have that one warband. They have one warband, and then one character from like the very, very start of AOS.
From Silver Tower.
Yep. And then we have an image of Malaran from the very first rulebook, and then that's it.
That's a lot of
Malarian, yeah.
In terms of,
are you guys arguing about
they almost have as many models as Fire Slayers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I dived deep into fantasy pronunciations while reading the Wheel of Time books.
Fucking
holy crap! Reading Wheel of Time book pronunciations.
I hate that so much.
It bothers me is a lot of times I will read the same books as my friends. For example, Alex and I, both fans of the Black Library, so Alex and I have read literally dozens of the same books as each other. And Alex actually rarely will pronounce anything that's like very different than how I pronounce it. But I have some other friends that also read Black Library. And so like when I'm reading, if I come across a new word, I will actually say it out loud a few times and kind of work my mouth around it and then try to say it in a way that sounds like it would flow in a language and all that. But I have other friends that you can tell never did that. And so you're talking with them, and they go to say the name of a character or a place or something, and that is just some of these like I was like, wait, what were you talking about? Malfurgion? But no, that's not even that's not even the letters that were in the book.
Yeah,
that's not even the letters that were there. You added
John,
letters.
That's 100% what I do. I just like scan a word and be like, and I'll just move on, and then I'll try to pronounce it when I'm talking to people. I'm like, you know, that one person with the M and the R's and the you know, like Moraxian. Yeah, that person, right? We know what we're talking about. That's 100% what I do.
Nice.
You just scan. You just like you recognize patterns in the way the letters are arranged. We don't bother with needing to pronounce it because that slows down your reading. And so
I hear you.
Yeah.
And everybody does
recognize
that.
The pattern. Yeah.
You know, it's funny. I listen to a lot of audiobooks too, and you'll notice that the narrators for audiobooks will do that sometimes too. You can tell they're just ripping through reading, and you know that if they read the word, they would know the word, but occasionally you'll catch them pronouncing the letters of a word, and so you get this weird pronunciation of something in the middle of a book. And then it happened the other day. I was listening to this book, and the main character had a sword with a name, and then he gave that sword to his apprentice and then had a new sword. And about a chapter later, the narrator all of a sudden said the name of the old sword. And I'm like, I know the author didn't do that. That was the narrator did that. That was a Freudian slip.
Yep. I hate that so much.
Hate that.
Well, you guys, I think that we have a really good idea about how Lumineth might look. And of course, the book we're going to have in our hands.
We really don't.
Soon.
Don't worry about it.
We have no idea what it's going to look like.
We have some initial ideas of what it's going to look like, is what I mean to say. But in about 2 weeks, we're going to probably have the book in hand. We're probably going to be able to review it. And of course, maybe we can do a live stream or we can have an extended episode. I would love to have an initial reaction and then maybe a sleep on it and think about it a little bit more reaction of this battle tome. Because we have generally some more time on our hands. But then also, you know, of course, this is a new book and this is a completely new faction. So I hope you guys do, you know, take a look at some of these future episodes. You know, of course, we're going to be expanding on this. If you guys want, please do like us on Facebook, review us on Apple Podcasts, The Wide World of Wargaming. You can find us on FLG's Roll as well as Podbean. And wherever you get your podcasts, we are on Facebook. So shoot us a shout out or a like on there as well. This is going to be Alex, John, Jeremy, and Garrett signing off for the night.
Take it easy, folks. Look for the video on YouTube. See you later.
Yes, and YouTube.